face and voice of Africa. The story of resurgent and burgeoning Africa is here, only on the Pulse of Africa channel. Pulse of Africa, the face and voice of Africa.
The G20 summit has concluded with a renewed commitment to multilateral cooperation, said South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa. Hello and welcome. I'm Gamatisa Mandida and this is POA Daily News. Stay with us for in-depth coverage of the stories shaping our region and the world. South Africa says shared goals outweigh differences as G20 ends. With a strike of the symbolic gavel, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa on Sunday closed the first G20 summit to be held on the African continent. The gathering broke with tradition by issuing a leader's declaration on the opening day of talks despite fierce opposition from the United States. It has been critical of a South African agenda for the G20 that largely focused on climate change and global wealth inequality. Ramaphosa said the declaration from this weekend summit reflects a renewed commitment to multilateral cooperation. Recognizing our interconnectedness as a global community of nations, we have called for an end to conflicts and wars around the globe and for a just and comprehensive and lasting peace, he said. In his closing speech, Ramaphosa said the summit had taken place at a crucial time as calls around the world grew louder for progress on the imperatives of our time. This included ending poverty in all its forms and ramifications, reducing inequality within and amongst countries, and taking urgent action to combat climate change. He said the declaration shows that their shared goals outweighed their differences and was a commitment to concrete actions to improve the lives of people all over the world. I now say that this gavel of this G20 summit formally closes this summit and now moves on to the next president of the G20, which is the United States, where we shall see each other again next year. The summit is therefore closed. The wooden gavel would normally have been handed over to U.S. President Donald Trump at the closing ceremony, but Washington boycotted the gathering because of his widely discredited claim that South Africa is violently persecuting its white African minority. South Africa had said a traditional handover ceremony would not happen because Washington only wanted to send an embassy official, which Pretoria said was an insult to Ramaphosa. The U.S. is due to take over as G20 president for 2026 and says it will host its summit at Trump's Golf Club in Doral, Florida. Africa shines at the historic G20 summit in South Africa. Africa's participation in the G20 summit hosted in South Africa has been hailed as a significant achievement, according to Bilene Siyum, press secretary for Ethiopian Prime Minister's office. This marks the first time the G20 is held on African soil, underscoring the continent's growing influence in global discussions. The summit serves as a vital platform for the world's foremost economies, which collectively represent over 85% of the global economy, to tackle pressing economic and geopolitical challenges. Bilene emphasized that Ethiopia's involvement reflects its strategic importance and enhances Africa's role in global governance. With South Africa set to host the event again in 2025, this milestone presents an opportunity for African nations to push for greater inclusion and drive regional growth, fostering renewed confidence in the continent's global presence.
So in that regard, South Africa was the host for this G20 summit. Although any African country is not part of the G20 group, which includes these largest economies, it was decided in 2025 for one of Africa's countries to be a host. So this is quite monumental in that such a large meeting is taking place on an African soil.
In an effort to elevate Africa's voice on the global stage, the G20 summit extended invitations to 16 non-member countries, including Ethiopia. South Africa's invitation provided Ethiopia with a valuable platform to enhance its diplomatic influence and forge stronger bilateral relationships with key global leaders. Led by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, the Ethiopian delegation participated actively in the summit, engaging in meaningful and constructive discussions. Press Secretary Blene Siyum highlighted Ethiopia's progress and contributions, emphasizing the country's efforts to advance its diplomatic and economic agendas. This participation signifies a step forward for Africa's collective efforts to have a greater say in international affairs and to showcase its developmental ambitions on a prominent global platform.
His Excellency met with President Cyril Ramaphosa the night or on the eve of the G20 Leaders Summit. But in addition to that, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has also engaged with the Crown Prince of the UAE, the heads of state and government of countries like Finland, Italy and France that are longtime friends and allies of Ethiopia as well, India, the UK, Finland, Netherlands, and quite a variety of countries. When it comes to multilateral institutions as well, His Excellency had substantive meetings with UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres this morning. He also had meetings with World Bank leadership, Ajay Banga, with IMF leadership as well, Her Excellency Kristalina Georgieva. Continentally, when we're looking at the African Development Bank and the engagements that it has within Ethiopia, those discussions also have borne, much more of substantial pathway for cooperation.
Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has long been a strong advocate for African unity and integration, and his participation at the summit reinforced Ethiopia's commitment to continental cooperation and global partnerships.
They shaped history. They inspired generations. They are the notables. Join us as we honor Africa's greatest minds and trailblazers, the notables, celebrating Africa's icons.
EU commits €45 million to boost Nigeria's digital transformation. Nigeria's drive toward a digital economy has received a major boost as the European Union announced an additional €45 million support package for the federal government's 3 million technical talent program. The announcement was made in Kano during the 5th Project Steering Committee meeting of the Digital Transformation Center Nigeria and the launch of the Women Venture Studio Innovation Hub. The 3MTT initiative, launched in 2023, aims to equip 3 million Nigerians with advanced digital skills, including artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, and software development. The EU's latest funding commitment forms part of a broader €820 million digital cooperation package designed to accelerate Nigeria's digital transformation. Speaking at the meeting, Inga Stefovic, head of section for green and digital economy at the EU, emphasized the importance of ensuring that Nigeria's digital progress is inclusive and nationwide. We do not want this steering committee to remain only in Abuja. This is why we have taken it across the country, from Lagos to Ibadan and now Kano. It is essential to recognize the digital transformation happening here in the north alongside progress in other regions of Nigeria, she said. Since its inception, the Digital Transformation Center has trained and supported over 5,300 Nigerians, including 2,060 women and 795 persons with disabilities. Beneficiaries have gained digital skills, startup support, and entrepreneurship resources. The program is also piloting digital vouchers to expand access to technology, while 40 startups and micro, small, and medium enterprises have already received innovation support. Policy initiatives in 4 states are further helping to reduce the digital gender gap. Representing the Director General of NITDA, Acting Director of Digital Literacy and Capacity Building, Ahmed Tambuwal, described the discussions as constructive and strategic. He stressed Nigeria's commitment to building a digital economy that works for all citizens, particularly women and persons with disabilities. With the EU's new funding, Nigeria is set to expand ICT training nationwide, fiber connectivity and digital public infrastructure by 2025, reinforcing its position as a leader in Africa's digital transformation journey. Ghana loses $3 billion annually to corruption. Ghana is estimated to lose $3 billion every year to corruption, a figure that is double the country's annual foreign direct investment (FDI) inflows of $1.5 billion. Private legal practitioner Inswah Abdullahi Fuseni has called for the conviction of officials found guilty of corruption, stressing that strong enforcement is needed to protect national resources. Speaking during an exercise hosted by the Office of the Special Prosecutor (OSP) on Sunday, November 23, 2025, Fuseni cited remarks by Beauty Narta, president of the Ghana Anti-Corruption Coalition (GACC), who revealed the staggering losses. He warned that unless high-profile individuals are convicted swiftly, corruption will continue to thrive. He further noted that corruption had been normalized under the previous administration, underscoring the need for harsher penalties and stronger enforcement mechanisms to deter such practices. Moving to business news, Vietnam explores major investment opportunities in Zimbabwe. Vietnam has shown strong interest in expanding its investments in Zimbabwe, with priority areas including mining, agriculture, infrastructure, and manufacturing. This development follows a high-level meeting between Vietnam's Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh and Zimbabwe's Vice President Dr. Constantino Chiwenga, held on the sidelines of the G20 Leaders Summit in Johannesburg, South Africa. The move reflects the growing success of Zimbabwe's open-for-business policy, which continues to attract global investors as part of the country's engagement and re-engagement drive. Prime Minister Chinh emphasized the potential benefits for both nations, noting that their economies can complement each other. We mainly discussed the tangible benefits for the two countries. We also focused on the signing of cooperation agreements and will soon make some follow-ups on the existing agreements because our economies can complement each other. We are also looking into investing in strategic sectors, he said. The discussions also highlighted the importance of strengthening bilateral ties and ensuring the effective implementation of signed agreements. Although Zimbabwe attended the summit as an invited guest, the country is using the platform to attract more foreign direct investment (FDI) and global capital flows. The G20 summit brings together world leaders to advance cooperation on inclusive growth, sustainable development, climate action, and global partnerships, providing Zimbabwe with a valuable opportunity to showcase its investment potential. EU and African leaders meet in Angola to discuss trade and mineral issues. European and African leaders are meeting in Luanda, Angola for a two-day summit focused on strengthening economic and security ties. The gathering also serves as the backdrop for urgent discussions on the war in Ukraine. Leaders attending include France's Emmanuel Macron, Germany's Friedrich Merz, and Kenya's William Ruto, among many others. Talks with African nations will center on trade, migration, and access to critical raw materials. However, European Union leaders are also expected to hold a special meeting on the sidelines to respond to a draft plan by U.S. President Donald Trump aimed at ending Russia's war in Ukraine. The plan has been criticized in Europe as being too favorable to Moscow. Finnish President Alexander Stubb noted that a lot of work remains on the 28-point proposal. This summit marks the 7th EU-Africa gathering and comes just after the G20 meeting in South Africa, where a U.S. boycott highlighted global divisions. It also coincides with the 25th anniversary of EU-Africa Union relations, a partnership analysts say must be renewed if Europe wants to remain Africa's top ally. Africa has become a major diplomatic battleground, with China, the US, Russia, Gulf states and Turkey competing for influence through investments in minerals, energy and security. While the EU remains Africa's largest investor and trading partner, with trade reaching 467 billion euros, equivalent to $538 billion in 2023, resentment over colonial history and competition from other powers have weakened its position. Experts argue that Europe must move beyond declarations and deliver credible investments in infrastructure, energy and industry that create jobs and growth. Africa is looking not for new declarations but for credible, implementable commitments, said Africa Union spokesman Nur Mohammed Sheikh. The EU will also seek to secure critical minerals needed for its green transition and reduce reliance on China for rare earths. As part of its Global Gateway initiative, Brussels is highlighting projects such as the Lobito Corridor Railway, developed with US support to connect mineral-rich regions of the Democratic Republic of Congo and Zambia to Angola Atlantic coast. While EU officials present such projects as mutually beneficial, critics argue that risks repeating extractive colonial practices and have yet to deliver real improvements for local communities. Investment must move from PowerPoint to the factory floor, said Ekpesit Efyong of Nigeria's SBM Intelligence. Europe's credibility now depends on whether it can support projects that create value in Africa, not just visibility for Brussels. Finally, moving to sport, Morocco wins Destination of the Year at 2025 Travel Awards. In 2024, Morocco recorded 17.4 million tourists. As of October this year, Morocco welcomed 16.6 million, with the number making a 14% increase compared to the same period a year earlier. Morocco is expected to receive at least 18 million tourists by the end of 2025, with many observers and magazines expecting the record to reach the 20 million mark. The number is an achievable goal as Morocco prepares to host the Africa Cup of Nations AFCON. The tournament will take place from December 21 to January 18. Fans from across the globe, including Europe, are booking their flights and tickets for the tournament, which is expected to contribute a significant increase in tourist arrivals in Morocco. Let's take a look at the current forecast and what conditions to expect across the region. That's all from POA News for the hour. Thank you for joining us and stay tuned for more updates from Africa.
Welding is more than just a technical skill. It is a powerful engine driving Africa's industrial transformation. It is the invisible force behind construction, manufacturing, infrastructure, energy and transportation. No modern industry can thrive without welding. Across the African continent, there is a growing demand for self-sufficient and localized industrial growth.
Welding is a key of technology. You cannot find any industry without welding. So started from transportation, erection, petrochemicals and oil, every industry has welding. So if we have the capacity and we have the skill to perform welding, that means we are able to make high quality industry, okay? And this help all African country economics. This from one level, and the second level, it has many chances for young people to work, and we find job for them. And also, if we are very qualified and with high standard, that means we will not import product from Europe or other places, that we are able actually to manufacture all our needs and our necessary equipment here in Africa. That is why welding is very important.
As Africa shifts away from dependency on imported technologies and raw material exports, welding becomes central to value-added manufacturing. The Welding Federation is a Pan-African organization headquartered in South Africa. Its mission is to domesticate and institutionalize welding expertise across the region to serve the growing needs of Africa's manufacturing and industrial sectors. The Federation's membership spans 15 African countries, including South Africa, Nigeria, Egypt, Ethiopia, among others, and many more in the process of joining.
The first thing for Africa to do is to build an integrated system. There are multiple dimensions to the benefit that an integrated system will cause. In Africa currently, we believe there's an over-focus of everybody in one aspect. Who do we go for aircraft maintenance? Who do we go for shipbuilding? Everybody wants to go oil and gas. We believe that Africa should prioritize TWF, Continental Welding Certificate, not just because it is TWF. It is for what it addresses. It's very, very critical, because at the end of the day, we are the developing continent. There are always projects all over Africa, but there are not always jobs all over Africa. There are two different things, having projects and having jobs. Why are there no jobs? Sometimes the issue is that there are no skills. Sometimes the issue is that available skill in Africa is disconnected from the projects. What do I mean by that? There could be highly skilled experts in Ethiopia, and there's a project in Kenya. But because there's no integrated platform where the whole of Africa talks, Kenya will go to Europe or Western countries to import these skills at the detriment of Africans that have such skills.
Today, welding plays a vital and indispensable role across Africa's industrial landscape. In infrastructure, welding is essential to the construction of power plants, water treatment facilities, and commercial buildings. It powers sectors like oil and gas, manufacturing, infrastructure, and transportation. It is a dynamic force from pipeline construction, refinery fabrication, and machinery assembly to the construction of skyscrapers, bridges, railways, and port facilities.
Welding is huge and vast. In Africa, mostly the application of welding now is in oil and gas, in manufacturing, in infrastructural development, buildings, roads, dams, tanks. In oil and gas, we have pipes, pipelines, manufacturing of oil processing plants, refineries, FPSOs. So these are the key areas where Africa is applying welding now. We have not gone down deep into those small precision weldings and other things. We are getting there, which also includes, manufacturing like solar panels, which you need precision welding, and Africa is coming up in that as well. And so many other areas, medical sector, you have a lot of application of welding there. Plus, welding is vast. It's applied virtually in everything. As I said earlier, that, no way you will wake up in the morning and go back to bed without using something that has been welded. Be it your wristwatch, your glasses, your shaving stick, up to the spoons or pans we eat, up to the plates we use, out to the cars we use, the road we use, the buildings we are in, where we get our energy, and so many things.
Globally, the welding industry was valued at $21.5 billion in 2022 and is projected to reach $28.6 billion by 2028, growing at a compound annual growth rate of 4.8%. Welding is central to economic resilience and development. It makes infrastructure possible and determines its safety, durability, and efficiency. Welding is a physical connection between Africa's ambition and its industrial future.
Africa is the menu. Africa is not on the table. Our resources makes us the menu, but our lack of systems makes us not to be on the table. That is why sometimes we have resources. You go almost everywhere today in Africa, you have oil and gas. But are we really an oil and gas economy? Is the multiplier effect of having such resources, is it really available? The true answer is no. Because while we celebrate the resources, the critical enablers that will aid you to domesticate the values from those resources, they are not necessarily available. In fact, a lot of Africans participate in the industry, they do not manage the industry. And this is where the problem is. Yes, whether Africa is on the rise, yes, we are getting more conscious. We are seeing more continental integration, more discussions. On TWF, we've seen companies forming alliance through technical collaboration. That is what we want. We want to see a company from Ethiopia partnering with a company from Ghana to execute a major project in Ethiopia if they don't have the capacity. Not when, as long as the value is in Africa, the value content should be retained in Africa. That is where you can start moving to the. It's not about every time we come to conference, we sit down and talk. So no, it's about actions.
In countries such as Nigeria, Angola, and Algeria, where oil and gas make up over 40% of export revenues, welding is a key pillar of economic stability. Major infrastructure projects like the 4,400 kilometers Trans-Saharan gas pipeline and the East African crude oil pipeline in Uganda and Tanzania, and the LNG terminals in Mozambique and Senegal depend heavily on skilled welders. In these extreme environments, welding ensures the structural integrity of high-pressure systems where precision and reliability are non-negotiable.
For all sectors, manufacturing sectors, energy sectors, whenever there is metals, you need welding. And for the oil and gas industry or energy in general, we do a lot of welding, and it's a very high standard because of the safety. You know, we deal with combustible products, and because of safety, our standard for welding is very high, and so the whole sector is a very good sector for employing certified and qualified engineers, welding technicians, inspectors, and all that. And the welding industry plays a vital role in our industry.
Welding is also indispensable in aviation and marine industries. It is used in aircraft frame repair, engine component fabrication, and shipbuilding. With a growing aviation sector, countries like Ethiopia and Kenya rely on certified welders to ensure air travel remains safe and reliable. In construction, welding enables the assembly of self-reinforced structures, telecom towers, water systems, and electrical grids. With Africa's urban population projected to reach 1.5 billion by 2050, the demand for welded infrastructure is increasing rapidly, from affordable housing to urban utilities.
For all Africa, it varies from one region to the other, but still we import a lot of material. Of course, we import a lot of finished products, and we still import a lot of expertise. And at my organization, we coordinate among our member countries. As we already said that we have 18 member countries. We coordinate and we collaborate a lot on how to enhance our own capacity and our own expertise to serve our industry instead of relying on imported expertise. When it comes to supplies of equipment and tools and materials, again, we have to help establish manufacturers and suppliers, in addition to, of course, advanced surface suppliers within Africa, to lessen our dependence on outside, and also to enhance local content participation along the oil and gas value chain.
Welding must be recognized as more than a technical skill. It is a strategic industry, a key enabler of national security, economic resilience, and industrial sovereignty. As Africa pursues self-reliant and inclusive growth, welding should be integrated into a coordinated development strategy that spans defense, energy, manufacturing, mining, agriculture, and construction. Strategic sectors are those that have wide-reaching impacts across multiple areas of national development. Welding supports each of them. Therefore, African governments must adopt national welding codes and quality assurance framework aligned with the global standards such as ISO 3834 and others. Regulatory oversight is essential to avoid infrastructure failure caused by poor welding practices. Welding quality, when managed professionally, can prevent costly and dangerous accidents.
The welder has many tests, and if he doesn't pass these tests, he cannot weld. It's not allowed for him to weld. An inspector also should be in high level, to be able to inspect this, because welding is involved in many critical industries. For example, in boiler, if the welder is not good, that means the weld is not good. So maybe the boiler is explosive. So that is why it is very, very critical job. So we try to upgrade our capability as African, started from the welder, through the inspector and welding engineers, and from the company level for apply very high qualified industries like ISO and something, and we try also to make our own standardization in Africa.
Welding is also critical to Africa's renewable energy future. It supports the fabrication and maintenance of solar panel structures, wind turbines, hydroelectric systems, and battery storage units. As Africa strives to meet its goal of sourcing 30% energy from renewable energy by 2030, welding will play a vital role in building and maintaining sustainable infrastructure.
It's collaborating with Afrexim Bank to build the Africa Energy Bank. And this will be dedicated to support the industry in its projects and operations. And in addition to this, we collaborate a lot of initiatives, as I said, to support how we sustainably exploit and continue exploiting our resources for the benefit of Africa. Africa needs to develop, Africa needs to industrialize. And in fact, this is the century of Africa. And we cannot be doing that effectively without oil and gas. So we are defending our position that we want to use our oil and gas. We cannot really abandon these very valuable resources, and we are heavily dependent on these resources even today. So there is a common stand that we will continue utilizing and exploiting our oil and gas.
The second and third African annual welding competition were hosted in Nigeria and Ethiopia respectively. These events have played a significant role in developing welding talent across the continent. Organized by the Welding Federation, they brought together participants from over 15 African countries, including Ghana, Kenya, Ethiopia, and Nigeria.
African Welding Federation, TWF, is an organization that we are trying to make cooperation between all the African countries, and we try to make our standardization. And we want to make upgrade to our technology level, not even in one country, no, we'll spread this all in African country. So that is why we have every year one assembling meeting and one conference in different African countries. First one, it was in Cairo, in Egypt, in 2023. Second one was in Nigeria, Lagos, 2024, and this year here in Ethiopia. And I would like to take a chance to really thank Ethiopian people and the Ethiopian organization, the people who host this event. Actually, is very well organized and very nice. And actually, Ethiopia has a power.
The 2025 African Welding Competition reflects the continent's growing commitment to building a skilled, capable workforce. These competitions contribute to job creation, technical innovation, and industrial sustainability. Through collaboration, membership and competition, Africa is shaping a future where local talent drives industrial progress. Welding offers a powerful solution to youth unemployment in Africa. With more than 60% of the population under the age of 25 and youth unemployment exceeding 35% in some countries, welding provides an avenue to well-paying jobs, entrepreneurship and national development. Skilled welders prepare and manufacture farm equipment, build solar infrastructure, assemble electric vehicles, and produce steel components for housing and public utilities. These are real achievable opportunities rooted in local knowledge.
In terms of job creation, as we have mentioned, for example, welding. You have a pipeline project, let's say, building a pipeline from one point to another. You require hundreds and hundreds of welders. You are making a building like this. You require a lot of welders. They need to weld the trusses, the beams. You are building a refinery, like the huge one built by Angola. You need thousands of welders. So empowering the youths, training them at all levels, because welding is not only the one doing the weld. It starts from that one up to the welding engineer, who has the technical knowledge and ability to sit down and design the weld. And then the welder at the last guy who will go and make the weld. So it's a chain. And that chain, if it is broken, the whole system collapses. So you need to have trained people right from the top to the very bottom, who are well trained, who are well educated, who are well certified to be able to carry out this. Now, training these youths in Africa, it's an addition for job creation, reduce redundancy, reduce crime, get people into a mind of doing something. And it's a technical knowledge and a skill that you can go and apply anywhere in the world.
With investment in technical and vocational education and training, African countries can train youth in high-demand welding techniques. These include pipe welding, structural steelwork, stainless fabrication, and robotic welding. Such training unlocks jobs in formal industries and informal markets, empowering youth to launch businesses and fabricate local tools and machinery. Welders enable nations to construct, maintain and advance critical systems in agriculture, housing, energy and mobility.
Every company in Africa should not look for money, they should look for technology transfer. And the whole welding technology as such is really in progress. A lot of new ways of doing it is popping up. And I think that the African welding organization that stand behind the welding, they should really try to get as much foreign technology into their businesses here and not focus too much for looking for new businesses or money, because it will come if the African welders understand to grow organically, which means grow with the customers, get customers, and then grow gradually. Don't build huge facilities in order to get or attract big contracts from the rest of the world.
Africa's industrial future depends on targeted investment in modern training, advanced welding equipment, strong public-private partnership, and forward-looking national policies and support local manufacturing. With abundant natural resources, youthful energy, and emerging technical expertise, Africa is well positioned to become a major player in the global economy.
We will grow like China did from 2001, when they became member of the World Trade Organization, to now, 2025, where China reached the point where the salaries or the costs are too high. Africa is exactly where China was in 2001. So we are ready, with hundreds of millions of young people ready to take over the manufacturing. So for me, I see this as an opportunity that the rest of the world is kind of collapsing a little bit around ourselves. The supply chain, the globalization is broken. So that gives space for other players. So for me, there's a lot of natural resources under the surface, but the most important thing, or the biggest asset of Africa, walks on the surface. These are the human beings. And they're ready to fight for the continent and make sure that, that in 20 years, Africa is playing the major role in assembling of consumer electronics. That's my goal.
Welding symbolizes progress, opportunity and independence being forged into Africa's industrial future.